Well, as we've earlier said, the police are currently investigating that case, the murder of a 5-year-old girl whose body was discovered in an open veld in Duduza in Ekurhuleni. It is alleged, that the girl was raped and stabbed to death. To unpack this, let's now welcome Caroline Peters, African feminist, a human rights defender, executive director of the Callas Foundation. Ma'am, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Of course, this is a devastating story, yet again, your reaction to this latest incident and how it further reflects the crisis state of GBV in this country.
Yeah, indeed. Good afternoon to you, Unati, and thank you for this invitation. And you know what? It is a difficult conversation and it's really a painful discussion, but it's one that we need to keep on the agenda. And thank you for having this on the agenda today. I want to say it's a case that's left me absolutely heartbroken. It's devastating to think not just what she endured, but my heart goes out to the family and the broader community of Duduza. Can you imagine what the community is grappling with, this unimaginable loss and the devastation that this leaves? So what we're seeing here, it's not just a crime against one child. It's a reflection of the broader epidemic of violence that continues to plague our country. So the murder of this little girl is a stark reminder of how deeply entrenched violence has become in our society, especially against women and children, Unati.
And I want to talk about that entrenchment. I mean, when you listen to some of the comments in this particular case, there are suggestions that, men should rather work harder at working on relationships with women their own age. Does this indicate a lack of understanding of the dynamics of rape or sexual violence in this country that largely centers around patriarchy, toxic and cultural social norms?
Yes, yeah. Indeed it does. It points to systemic failures on many levels. So we know from Stats SA, the recent child series volume, but I want to go back. I mean, we know that crime against children, that rape cases involve children, increased by 6.3% between 2015-2016, and then again it increased further in 2019-2020. So the last updates was 2024, February 24, when this was released. And it's a horrifying statistic in itself. So the reality is that children in South Africa are often the most vulnerable. But I want to speak about rape and the systemic things that goes with that. So systemic and societal issues. So we know that rape often it's about power and control. It's not about relationships. And it is, I mean, for me, there's a lot of education to be had. So what role do systemic and societal issues play, in this violence? How do we start educating our communities? How do we, I do training around first responder training and sensitizing communities, patriarchy, socialization. How will we socialize to even believe? I mean, we have seen on New Year's Day, a 12-year-old girl giving birth to a 24-year-old man, and so it goes. So how do we start working in our communities with these issues? It is not about relationships. It is not about sex. It is not about that. It's about the power that men, I often say that men is at war with women and children's bodies here in South Africa. Our rape statistics are sometimes higher than a country that has war.
And those are powerful words. I mean, while there is a strong reliance on law enforcement, for policy and structural support, especially from a protection and prevention point of view, we know that this is a much more societal problem,
Yes.
What, though, can you say about how at times young girls, young boys, and especially young women are let down by the justice system? We've heard of cases where men are on parole or even out on bail and continue to prey on more victims. As we poke on holes here in terms of where we're going wrong, what do we have to say then about this kind of justice system that we are seeing in this country to deal with this crisis?
Our justice systems fails our children. I'm going to give you an example. There's a young girl 14 years old that was raped by her father. The matter's in front of the court now. I can't mention the names because she's a minor. However, the mother wants to leave the country with the child. The mother teaches, has been one of the teachers now that was paid off, retrenched, etc. And all the mother wants to do is to leave with the child. She's been propositioned. And the justice system is saying, no, he's got to sign for her to take the child out of the country, even though he's been convicted of rape of his child. So I mean, that's just one example that I use. But what I'm saying, the justice system fails women and children and young boys. The justice system fails us continuously. And I'm saying this, I also know for 2024 is an organization where had successful convictions, but in those cases there was clear-cut evidence, etc., etc. But the justice system needs to be overall, but I also want to say it's a collective responsibility, Unati. So whether it is us as civil society organizations, we need the access to justice forums to operate not in silos. So whether it's SAPS, the Department of Justice, and all the other stakeholders that is needed to hold victims and survivors of sexual violence, as well as supporting victims and ensuring that we get successful convictions. It is a collective responsibility. So this tragedy should never have happened, and we must do everything in our power to prevent it from happening again.
Absolutely. Caroline, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Caroline Peters is an African feminist, a human rights defender, and the executive director of the Callas Foundation.